Hello and welcome to another All Nation Line video. Today I want to talk a little bit about a historical feature of the locomotives that General Motors Corporation came out with, as well as when All Nation acquired General Motors Corporation. Back in the day, the drives in those engines were a little different than they are today. So on the bench here, I have a couple of old parts that can often be seen in some of the original locomotives that are still out in the field and running. And the way they connected the motor to the transmissions was with these two parts. Back in the day, early days of automobiles, the way you would know what your speed was when you were driving your car was with the use of a speedometer cable. It was a mechanical device, and lo and behold, they used a speedometer cable in the connection between the motor to the transmissions because it's flexible, and they attached this little drum, or collet if you will, to the shaft of the motor, and a little pinhole here for mounting it. I think this may be a piece of Bakelite actually that was turned. And then on the opposite end, it's squared off, which I'm assuming they simply hammered to get it, this round speedometer cable or spring, to be square so it would fit in this particular machine piece here, like so. And the reason the speedometer cable is because they wanted some flexibility, so as the transmission or the engine was going around a turn, you had some flexibility here. And it worked very well. There were different lengths. For instance, the switcher was this length. If this was used in a road unit like an F3 or F7, it would have been a little bit longer. Today, we tend to use universal joints, or have used them. But they're starting to get a little pricey. The RC guys like to use these in their remote control race cars, and their steering mechanisms in those cars. And so I was experimenting with an idea that's similar to the old speedometer cable trick by 3D printing drive shafts that would connect to a motor or even to a ball joint on the end of the transmission. And I even facilitated telescoping with these with a little square piece of brass. And the way this works is very similar to the speedometer cable because of the type of material we're using. The 3D print is flexible. So you can see I could make this cylinder in here thick or thin, and these would press fit over the shafts. If you needed to, you could put a set screw in there, but you would get the same effect for having a little bit of flexibility in your drive shaft, which is similar to using multiple universal joints to accommodate the turning as the engine goes around curves. I think these will be a lot cheaper, and the material we're using to experiment with this now is TPU, and I think they'll be much cheaper in the long run to use these in our models than going to universal joints, and they will tend to be quieter, when you're running your engine as well. So we'll keep you posted on our progress to develop these. Some will be short, some will be long, depending on what's needed. I anticipate something like this might work real well on a drive shaft that's going from one truck, say from the rear truck to the front truck, where you want both trucks powered. And you need some flexibility. You need the strength of this TPU, or rubberized type of plastics, and I think it might turn out to be as good a solution or better than the original old speedometer cables. Hope you enjoyed this video. Appreciate any comments or feedback that you may care to share. We'll share them with other modelers.